Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media, Dear Business Coach pages and groups, Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Well, and Shilpi, welcome to the Dear Business Coach podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for having me here, Elizabeth.
Yes, this is great. I'm excited to hear all about you. I've had the pleasure of speaking with you a few times, and I'd like to read what I have on your profile, and then I'll ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself to get started. Is that okay?
Sure. Yes, it's okay. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I see that you're the director of marketing with the G100 Global Advisory Council, and you're in PR, media relations, and digital marketer, and also a geologist, which we'll talk about, and empowering entrepreneurs globally through Fuzia community. And also the website link, if I am on your LinkedIn profile, I can click on Live Wabi Sabi Life. And so we'll hear about that too. All right. So will you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yes, sure. So, you have already, read about my LinkedIn profile. So, yes, I represent, I am a brand ambassador for Fuzia since last 8 years. And my primary responsibility at Fuzia is to interview thought leaders and entrepreneurs or solopreneurs and, share their stories on a website called Humans of Fuzia. And I'm also, related to PR and digital marketing. And then, as you have already read on my profile, that I am, director of marketing at G100 Media Arts and Communication Wing, where I represent Global Advisory Council. So, these are the kind of initiatives which I am currently working on. And I have been, in the past, I have been a geologist. Then I have done my, MBA from IIM Calcutta, and I specialize, in business relationship management, influencer endorsements, sponsorships, brand awareness, and collaborations. So, and beyond, my dedication to fostering growth and empowerment, I am also the founder of Live Wabi Sabi Life blog, which you already read on my profile, that where I share, insights on celebrating the imperfect, incomplete, and impermanent things in life. And in addition to this, I am also a creator at Instagram, where I share self-love shots actually, and offer guidance on being unapologetically yourself to people of all gender and ages. So yeah, so these are the 4 initiatives on which I am working upon.
So that's amazing. I want to ask you to start. I know that you are kind of a marketing master, and I think that you got into I think you got into the business development side after some personal searching, right? And so before I ask you about how you became an ambassador and a global representative and a director of your own initiatives, is one way that I would say that, right? Because this is your content that you are developing, which is amazing. But you have a geology background, and so tell me a little bit about your early interests and your early profession before marketing.
Okay. So so as you see, my background was in geology actually, and being a geologist gave me an analytical mindset and a love for research, but my life, took me into different direction. And I had to, shift careers and my entire life for my family, for my children. So in those years, I found a new perspective on my own strengths and ambitions. So well, if I go back into my journey, then let me tell you that I mean, though both my mother and mother-in-law both are no longer with me, but I mean, in my journey I have their profound influence, which continues to shape my journey every day. So I want to give a brief background of my mother and mother-in-law. Is that okay? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, okay. So let me tell you that my mother, she was a selfless soul, and she turned down a lucrative, government job to dedicate her life to raising her children. And she embodied sacrifice and devotion, and, teaching me the power of prioritizing family. And on the other hand, my mother-in-law, she was a beacon of strength and independence, and she was a cancer survivor. She wore many hats as she raised her three children, and ultimately retired as a school principal. So her philosophy of self-love, self-care, and delegating when necessary became integral lessons in my life. So so when it comes to my journey started, I mean, very early, as love entered my life in my teens, and I had my first son, in my early 20s. And my mother's impact was so profound on me that I decided to turn down a promising position at Indian Institute of Geomagnetism to raise my son. And I chose a path which allowed me to be present with my son. So I completed a B.Ed degree, started teaching in a local school. I stepped back, from every opportunity which was coming towards me. And so after I guess maybe after 12 and a half years, my younger son was born. And by then, my mother-in-law's influence had strengthened my resolve to embrace life differently.
Are you a LinkedIn user? If you are, you can join me for LinkedIn Live Audio with Elizabeth every week, usually on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I will have a LinkedIn Live Audio where we talk about podcasting for executives who speak and podcasting for team leaders who speak. These are the themes that are currently running. If that sounds like something you're interested, visit me, Elizabeth Walker at Work, on my LinkedIn profile.
So when my younger son was born, I was inspired, to rediscover my strengths. So just and when I was doing this, an incredible opportunity came my way in terms of Harki. I mean, Harki is a platform which supported, women into entering the workforce after career breaks. So this journey with Harki, it introduced me to remote work, concept which I never, I have never heard before remote work. I mean, in 2016. So I was encouraged to upskill and build a professional presence on social media. And I hope I am on my way to answer your question correctly, Elizabeth.
Yeah, of course. Well, exactly. I think it's uh, important to highlight the people that we glean from, the things that move us and the forces that help us find. I like the way that you said that you rediscovered your strengths. And it sounds like, when you were making choices, you were also aware that it was a choice, right? To give yourself the position to be available
Yes.
for your son and your family. And then you were able to, as you say, rediscover your strengths. And so there was something there all along. You were aware that you were, there were opportunities there. And so it gave you maybe when you felt like it was time to do something different, you remembered, that you have the choice. And that's interesting that you maintain that. So you found some you found a lot of guidance in you're lucky to have a mother-in-law that you were
Yeah.
able to bond with and glean those things from. So yes, I think that's important, and that sharing where we learn our teachings from is a big part of being vulnerable to your audience too. And I think it's fascinating that on your blog you use those words imperfect, incomplete, and impermanent, and those are kind of risky words to use for marketing, because I think if I'm coming to you as a marketing guru or as a woman who has been there and done that, I would be assuming I would think I would find advertising phrases, right, that would say things like, it's, here's the way I know what to do, and here's how you do it. And instead you're kind of giving some sort of security in the idea of the journey. And so that's really interesting to me too. So, but you must have, as someone who is also, as you say, naturally analytical, and you have a love of research, I bet that a lot of that skill set also played into part when it was time for you to make a new career choice. You probably leaned on some of those professional and analytical skills, right? How would you say that your interest in research and being analytical might have also served you going into the business world? That's unique too.
Yes, 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 yes. I mean, that's a great question, Elizabeth. And as I told you, half of my journey, I mean, it's been 20 years. I am in industry right now. And in first 10 years of my life, I lived as per, directed by my mother. I mean, giving everything for your family. And the another decade of my life was, a reflection of my mother-in-law's journey, because she used to, she always vouched on self-love, self-care, and she always used to, delegate tasks whenever necessary, because she has been working all through her life, and she retired from the post of principal. So her within the last decade, I have, developed skills of my mother-in-law, and I inculcated them into myself. And since 2016, when I restarted my career into a, business world. Earlier I had been a teacher, and then when I started my career into a business world, the first thing which for a remote work, which was very necessary, was your digital presence. That whether you have you should be having a profile on LinkedIn, Instagram, and like Twitter, which is now X actually. So when I started making, my profiles at these places, so to my surprise, my elder son has already created, my IDs for his school projects. So so when it comes to embracing the digital world, I mean, it was I had a huge help from my son, from my elder son. So I left my career for him, in early 20s. Then when I am in my 30s, my son is already there, to guide me into this digital world. So I was taking help every time. I was taking help from him to maintain my digital presence, to learn things, and let me tell you that when I joined Fuzia team, that's a global talent community, as you already know. So dedicated to empowering women. So navigating Fusia's, startup culture, this required constant learning actually. Because when you work in a startup culture, you have to, upgrade yourself every time, and you have to wear many hats, and you have to do many tasks. So all of this, motivated me to enhance my skills into PR, media relations, social media, operations. So, I completed a digital marketing degree from Digital Vidya. And there also my son used to help me with the projects. And so I learned a lot, though I gave up my career in geology due to him. But then when it when it time when the time was came when the time came that I wanted to have someone who could help me into digital world. So my son was already there helping me in my endeavors. So it was only because of him that the thing which I invested in my early 20s, it was giving me back in my early 30s. Okay, so yeah, so I completed my degree from Digital Vidya, and I did an MBA, from IIM Calcutta in HR. So yeah, so it was only because of him that I started my journey into a digital world, and I upskilled myself into various kinds of courses, and did my MBA in order to be a woman I am today. So that was my transition from geology to maybe a technical into a technical background.
You know that you uh have said something a couple of times to me. I obviously your work now is about the digital world. However, you have a unique perspective in terms of the words digital empowerment or
Yes.
digital empowerment for women. Why is this something that we should single out or pay attention to? What is different about digital empowerment rather than giving myself a title or giving myself a profile on LinkedIn or marketing myself with a resume? These are all things that we can learn how to do, and creating a digital presence is something that I could learn from you too. But why? What is different about digital empowerment from these other things?
Yeah. So, Elizabeth, I mean, as you already know, the importance of digital empowerment. So, digital empowerment, is about harnessing the potential of technology and digital platforms to achieve personal and professional goals. So, in today's world, as you know, digital skills are not just an asset, they are almost a necessity. For every woman, particularly digital empowerment can be transformative. It provides access to global networks, then remote work options, learning resources, and platforms to showcase talent. Whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a homemaker, whether you are a freelancer, or you are returning to workforce, these skills can open doors that were traditionally harder to access. And investing in digital empowerment, it allows women to work on their own terms, potentially even from home. And it is also a way to stay connected continuously, learn, and asset economic independence. So I believe digital skills are the key, to breaking barriers and building careers that fit our life goals, no matter where we are on our journey. Okay, does that answer your question?
Well, I think so. Now, a layer farther, what would be something that I could do? For example, um, I know how to post my own page reels. I kind of know a little bit about um, matching my social profiles as far as how that might be creating a brand for me. And so I hope that I'm creating a digital presence for myself, for example, with the podcast, and try to synergize the different social media platforms. And what could I do beyond that to be thinking about what is my digital presence, right? What is it that about my digital presence that would lead me to staying connected and being more economically independent? What about make my digital presence helps me do that?
So, I mean, there nowadays there are countless online resources, Elizabeth, and many of them are free. So, first of all, I would say that first and foremost, we need to believe in ourselves and embrace our journey without guilt or without shame, and keep on upskilling ourselves, which is very, very necessary. And volunteering, freelancing, and part-time roles are great ways to build confidence and visibility before diving back into a full-time role. And this is not for you, I mean, this is in general that we need to believe in ourselves, keep on upskilling, and keep on doing something or the other in order to be digitally present. And then networking. Networking is something which is very, very crucial. You know, LinkedIn, professional groups, and industrial events. I mean, they can connect you with people who might open doors to new opportunities. So, I mean, networking is something which is very, very crucial. And then, you know, connecting yourself with various, you know, professional groups or various events. And lastly, I mean, you must not hesitate, you know, to take guidance from mentors or peers, because they can always offer insights, feedback, and often help you find roles that fit your current life stage. And you just have to put out there which you are already doing. And you know, it takes time to build a digital presence. Then another thing which I would love to say for you is be consistent. You have, you know, already your podcast which is doing really well, and I am proud to be here. And you should be, the only thing you have to do now is to be consistent, because consistency is the key to, you know, growth, to which will enhance your digital presence. And when you look back, you know, when you look into the I guess the journeys of other people, they have been consistent in what they are doing. So I mean, whether it is a sports, I mean, any field you take, you have to be consistent, because consistency gives you result in long terms. So just be consistent, and you are doing great, my dear. You are doing great.
Well, that's so kind of you to say. It's always nice to, talk with someone who is honest about saying it's going to take time. Would you say that tell me about a time when you were feeling like it felt like you should have been farther along than you were, and you just kind of needed to be patient with yourself. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, yes. As I told you that I mean, in the first decade of my life, when my son was born, I had to, you know, like turn down many offers. I
Mm.
mean, that was not easy, but I had been, you know, celebrating my imperfections in order to, you know, be with my family, because I had to make some kind of choices that what was important for me. So I mean, even if you know, there are people who could have, you know, chosen a lucrative job opportunity. I didn't chose that. I celebrated my imperfection, that it's okay. I mean, it's okay to take a break. Then I had a career break of 2 years, because of my younger son. When my younger son was born, I had a career break, and it was totally a breakdown for me, because I mean, I was doing nothing, you know, at that time. But then,
Mhm.
in those years, you know, I found a new perspective on my own strength and ambitions. And as I told you, that my mother-in-law, who I mean, she was a very strong and self-reliant woman, and she encouraged me, you know, to explore new personal professional avenues. So I realized that my passion for connection and storytelling, you know, could be channeled beautifully into marketing and PR. And as I told you, that joining a startup like Fusia, I mean, I had to dive into new skills. So, and that also wasn't easy, not easy at all, because I didn't had a digital background. But I mean, I was struggling with many things. I mean, when it comes to, when I say that PR, digital media, business relationship management, I mean, these things were, you know, out of my comfort zone initially. But that leap led me to, you know, MBA from IIM Calcutta, and helped me find my true calling. And it was also my son, as I told you, that my tech guru, who helped me able to, you know, adopt social media, digital platforms. So though, I mean, I had been, I had a breakdown of some time, but then, I was motivated to be consistent. So only the, I mean, the consistent, I guess consistency part was, most rewarding for me, because, you know, I kept on moving. I didn't, I wasn't offered a very lucrative, offer. I wasn't earning that much, but I was in a state that I am doing something and I have to be consistent. So initial 3 to 4 years, I just had to be consistent and be patient with myself and my family. And today here I am, because I had been consistent, and I had been managing, you know, n number of things along with my job. So this perspective came to me from my mother-in-law, and I am truly grateful to her.
Yeah. Well, and you have we have a way to subscribe
Mhm.
to you as well. So if I go to your LinkedIn profile, there's a link, livewabisabi.com. And
Mhm.
that's where I can actually, there's a chat button and there's a subscribe button. So I can get updated. And then if I want to learn from you about networking and how to get, maybe ask you about how to share my story, because I know that we've talked about that before. It was so much fun to talk to you. I can also ask you, or audience members could ask you about town humans of Fuchsia, right?
Mhm.
And then, so is that how you would want people to get in touch with you or reach out to you? Or it would be the best thing to do would be to subscribe to your blog? Is that where you would like us to find you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's I mean, they can find me everywhere, Elizabeth. I mean, at Humans of Fuchsia platform, whether they can come to my blog. See, as I told you that I have four initiatives currently. One is Fuchsia, one is G100, one is my blog, and one is my like Instagram page, where I offer self love shorts. So they can subscribe to me anywhere, and I am truly active on everywhere, I should say. So I mean, whichever I mean, Instagram audience, if they have presence in Instagram, I would love to connect with them over there. Or if they have presence over LinkedIn, that also is great. If they want to subscribe to my blog, and at my blog I have many learning resources over there in terms of blog itself, which are I mean, related to present terms, which I have experienced in my life, and I have put down everything in my blog. So they could subscribe to my blog, or if they are searching for some kind of PR for themselves, then they could connect me through Humans of Future. So yeah, so I am available everywhere.
Yeah, and so if I go to the share your story tab, actually your blog is beautiful too. It's again, that's livewabisabi.com, livewabisabi.com. And there's
Mhm.
facts about me, offerings, contact, share your story, and of course the blog. And so there is a place here to fill out my information to send to you. And so you you actually have a lot of detail here. And so if if I were to submit on this form to share my story, then what
Mhm.
happens? Then you would see that, and then Shilpi would get in touch with me, and potentially we would have a meeting where I could talk to you about different ways that you might be able to help me share a story. Can I advertise this website on the YouTube video today for this interview?
Oh yes, yes, for sure. You can advertise, and I mean, let me make it clear that at Fuchsia, I am like sharing stories of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, or maybe leaders, thought leaders at Humans of Fuchsia. And when it comes to my blog, I am showcasing stories of people like me who have been celebrating their imperfections. So I don't need a successful story over there. I just need a story, whether it is your imperfections, whether it is your, like whether you have achieved something or in your life, or even if you have been a failure. I would love to share your story on my blog, and that too in a, like in a way that that would showcase the imperfect side of you. So that's the difference between Humans of Fuchsia and Live Wabi Sabi Life.
I mean, that's amazing. I always like to ask people, kind of like I did a minute ago, tell me about a time when you personally, were feeling a little bit of struggle. And so it sounds like you are looking for that too. So you, as a storyteller, as somebody who your job or your interest is to engage us and make get the story out of us, right? That was great the way you just said that. Even if you're a failure, tell me about it. I love that. Do you say that often to people in your meetings? That's good.
See, I mean, I won't say that, like you should be celebrating imperfections every
Yeah.
time. That's okay. But, I mean, you need to learn from your failures. You need to learn from your imperfections. You need to upskill. You need to put your learning somewhere, and then you need to
Mm.
rise in career. That's what I have done. So, I mean, had I been, celebrating imperfections, then I won't be sitting in front of you and talking to you, right? So I celebrated my imperfections. Then, I did my upskilling. I learned from my mistakes. I learned from mistakes of others as well, because if I sit and make all the mistakes myself, then I will be, making mistakes all through my life. So I need to learn from others mistakes as well, right? So I need to learn from mistakes, upskill, and then, like showcase myself as a woman who has gone through all. And then she is here, trying to spread awareness among people that even if you are imperfect, it doesn't mean that you will remain imperfect all through your life. You can, like upskill. You can still, stand up. You can gather all your courage, and you just need to be present and be consistent in what you are doing in a creative way, not only celebrating imperfections. Yeah, so imperfections are part of our life, but we need to, like learn from them and rise in our careers.
Yes. Well, that's beautiful and that's perfect. So visit Shilpi at livewabisabi.com and
Mhm.
share your story. Shilpi, anything else that I should ask you about before we go?
No, I think you have already, covered everything. I just wanted to tell you that, my story is one of, resilience, reinvention, and relentless growth. So it's a journey of learning to prioritize family, then learning to prioritize self, and now advocating for countless, other women to realize their potential. Through every choice, every challenge, and every chapter, we continue to forge a path, fueled by the lessons of, I mean, as in my case, of two incredible women, and the love for my family and community, and together with organizations like Fuzia and G100. So I am committed, to a future where every woman can rise and inspire and lead unapologetically.
That's wonderful. And yeah, I've already experienced that with you and your team. So more from Fuchsia as well on the Dear Business Coach podcast channels. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you again very soon. And thank you.
Thank you so much for Elizabeth for 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 just having me here, and for your time. And one more thing which I wanted to tell you, that it's been a pleasure, and I hope this conversation encourages more women to embrace their journey and pursue their passion, and no matter the obstacles, because and also that there's no age limit to learning or growth, only a willingness to start and be consistent.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.